Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Purch It Podcast. Today joining me are Nikhil and Euan of Nodemap. First things first, guys. I've done your little intro, but it's now for you to tell us about yourselves.
You can go first.
Oh, you want me to go first? So me and Nikhil, founders of Nodemap. I guess we started with that in April last year, so it's been almost a year now, which is crazy to think about. But we've had quite a lot of bumps in the road and turns and twists along the way. A few different ideas, a few different iterations, and all of that kind of general narrative that a lot of founders we know have gone through. Now we're working on Nodemap. We've been going with this for about 3 months, I'd say. We think we've kind of found something that we think's got a use and that we can work towards getting out there as soon as possible.
Very good. And Nikhil?
So I'm the nerdy techie on the team. I'm still at uni, so I'm in my final year of uni at the moment. Pretty stressful, but Nodemap gives me something to work on that's not uni work, which I love. Also been working with Carl a little bit on Purch It on the side, so I've been enjoying that as well. And that's basically what my life looks like at the moment.
Just full of busy.
Yeah, I'm never going outside either.
It's similar for me. I find that Nodemap's just given me something to do outside of work. So I'm a recent grad. Nikhil and I met at university. I graduated 2 years ago and then moved over to live in Austria. So I'm in Austria now, working a day job, kind of 9 to 5 kind of thing, and then fitting in Nodemap sort of as and when and trying to work that around. But yeah, it's long days, it's pretty stressful, but it's also quite nice just to break up the day and give yourself something that you can sort of focus your mind on rather than, with all this lockdown, what do you do anyway? Do you watch Netflix or there's not an awful lot to do, is there? So yeah, welcome back. Yeah.
So you both met at Newcastle Uni, am I right?
That's right.
Was it the same course, or was it just, how did you guys meet?
It's a funny story that we hate telling. We met on a sports team. It's not as glamorous as it sounds because the sport was pool and snooker. So so we're both part of that society. We met on the first time we both went. I think it was the first time for you, right? And then we were friends throughout the year. Then when Euan graduated, we kind of stopped talking, as people do.
I guess I just moved on to bigger and better things.
Yeah, I think it was that. Yeah.
I'm only joking.
Little me stuck in Newcastle and Euan going to mainland Europe.
That's right.
But obviously, things change. You don't see people all the time. And then, I was always, obviously keeping up with what he was doing and stuff. And then I had some pretty bad ideas to start a business, mainly out of wanting to make money. I'm not afraid to admit. But then we've almost found a love for this sort of process of speaking to people, having a look at their problems, trying to find solutions to things and ideating and stuff. But yeah, I just reached out to Euan after we hadn't spoken for a while. I think it was right at the start of lockdown as well, so we were both a bit bored. And our original plan was to sell some T-shirts, with controversial, political things from both sides of the spectrum written on them for some extra cash. But we ended up trying to find a better idea, didn't we?
Yeah. To be fair, though, if anyone listening wants to take that idea, I'd really love to see how far you get, because I really think there's a market there. If you have the same company with two subsidiary companies for both sides, and then you sell T-shirts, I think there's a little niche there that you could get into.
It's like selling rival T-shirts or something.
Yeah. So you see both people on each side of a protest with the same manufactured T-shirt, just with one word changed. Stop the vote and count the vote.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Wow. I feel like that's too good not to exist. I feel like someone does this.
That's what we're thinking, but like with Amazon and stuff, you can just, and drop shipping and stuff like that, you have the ability to start these things. They might be slow at the start, but you just sort of, with target advertising and everything, you can just find a political event, target your Facebook ads there, drop ship some t-shirts, and you can possibly make some money. I guess that's what
Very
good
true.
things like Shopify and things bring to the world nowadays that we didn't used to have. It's kind of crazy, really.
So Nikhil came to you with a bad t-shirt idea.
So after that was my idea.
Oh, that's your idea. Okay. So where did Bubble creep up in this?
That was
I had this idea when I was a kid, and weirdly, I actually read an article about someone who did this at uni, but it was basically to have a website where it was like a virtual billboard, so you'd almost sell real estate on the web page, so you'd sell a certain amount of pixels, and then I was thinking about like an ad exchange. So the inspiration for that was on some, you get these online platforms for like signing petitions and things.
Yeah.
And at the end, they always ask you, in order for your signature to count, you have to sign these other people's petitions, sorry. And so the way other petitions get signed is through that. It's almost like a viral thing inside the platform. So we thought, okay, maybe we could do that with adverts. So in order to post an ad for your business, you have to watch a certain number of seconds of like 3 other ads. And that was basically the awful idea that we started with. So yeah.
It's not an awful idea. I think there's definitely a space for something like that or something similar, but it's a very difficult idea, I think, just to get off the ground. And I think you really need experience in like online advertising and how you need to know how it all works and what people's attention spans are and who your target audience is, really, to get it going. But yeah, an awful idea for us, I would say.
Yeah, I think I've heard is it the $1 million billboard or something online?
I think that was the one.
He was selling $1 an ad or something.
Yeah.
I think if your intentions are good, I mean, I think his was just to make $1 million.
Yeah, it was.
So if there's like some value actually given these people taking the ad space, then
well, our motivation to start off with was, I used to have this like small business, and the problem with conventional methods of advertising businesses like on Facebook and stuff was that you'd always just get drowned out by people who had bigger ad spends. You'd see the same ads on YouTube and stuff. So it was kind of trying to find a way where you could almost like democratize the advertising and just everyone has an equal chance of popping up, basically, no matter how much you spend.
Yeah.
The only thing that's like dictated by how much you spend is like how long your ads on the system for. So yeah, it was a cool idea. I would have liked to be able to sort of build on it a little bit more, but we just got a bit carried away with more ideas, actually talking to some people, which we hadn't done prior to this. Actually found a problem that resonated with us and we experienced ourselves. So yeah, it was a bit of a whirlwind at the start because everything happened really quickly, and obviously you're learning so much. Like obviously you never really stop learning. We still learn loads now.
Yeah.
But when you just start, you seem to learn so much. And those first few months of lockdown, I don't know if it was the same for you, Euan, but it was almost like there wasn't a lockdown. Didn't realize, didn't notice, didn't feel depressed, didn't feel trapped. It was just, if anything, a good experience.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, especially when we started working together, which, as I said, was like, I think the end of April, start of May, because we were sort of in this situation that obviously is out with our control. We found that sort of working together and focusing on these projects that we were looking at together kind of gave us both an escape, and it was maybe only until about July, August time when I started to realise like the effect of like this lockdown and the pandemic, and then I think that's when it became a little bit harder to start to actually put in the hours and work on these projects, especially because, as Nikhil said, everything was a whirlwind. We didn't know what would work. We're speaking to probably about 6 or 7 different, I guess you'd call them advisors or contacts every week, and they were all kind of giving us slightly conflicting advice. So we think we'd got one idea and we'd flesh it out a little bit, and it seemed to be working. We'd kind of get shot down a little bit, but then someone else would tell us that we really liked it. They really liked it, and they think it had legs. So it was kind of like that battle of trying to find our own identity with any sort of project that we were building. And then I think for me as well, like Nikhil said at the start, my initial idea was to manufacture T-shirts and sell them to people and just basically make money. So I was just looking for something to make money at the beginning, but I think it was at that point when we were getting all the conflicting information and we're trying to form our own project based on our own ideals. That was when I realized that any sort of project that was going to be successful, we would really have to be invested in, and it had to be something more than money. I'd say that was kind of the effect of the first few months of lockdown for me.
Yeah, a good point you made there about speaking to so many people and getting conflicting answers back. Our personal experience with Purch It is we've pitched to a few people, they've given us some feedback, we go back to another person, and the thing that they said was wrong or could be changed is something they find great. So you're like in this weird uncanny valley where do we change it? Do we, like, what do we do? Like, no one's got a straight answer.
I think this is quite key for me personally as something that's changed my personality. Is before I was I was not very confident, and I'd live my life based on what other people thought I should do or said I should do, or what other people would think of me doing stuff. And we took a similar approach to our first initial ideas. Like, we talked to people, and because in our heads, they were like, gods. They'd been there, they'd know all this stuff. We knew nothing. We were pretty new. So we were like, okay, whatever they say must be right. And eventually it got to a point where we were like, well, all these people are saying conflicting things. All of them are giving really good advice, spending their time on giving us a proper valuable advice. But at the end of the day, you've just got to run with what you think's best. Very true. And that's just sort of bled into my life. I really don't care about anything anymore. Like what other people say, or what other people think, because as long as you have faith in something, and like it's getting a bit deep now. As long as you've got that belief in something, whatever someone says negatively, you either take it as an opportunity to build on your idea, or you think, oh, okay, that was good advice, I appreciate it, but I'm not going to take it into account, or I'm going to take a limited part of it into account, just because I've, for example, spoken to 5 people who've said a good thing. I'm not just going to take your one person's view that it's an awful idea.
I think that's something that we've both kind of helped each other with. That sort of, I don't know if you'd call it like reclusiveness or something, when you get the criticism. So when you talk to someone who is a self-made millionaire in the startup scene or whatever, and they basically rip your idea to shreds, and they tell you they kind of look at you as if to say, did you even think about this for 2 minutes? So when they do that, I think both of our natural reactions is to hide away from it and to just say, right, okay, let's, it's that fight or flight thing, isn't it? It's we are definitely, I think, two people that just want to avoid failure. And I think just by reading things like the Lean Startup, for example, for me that was really a learning curve, because I was introduced to this new way of thinking about not just about your business but about your life. That if you try something and someone doesn't like it, it doesn't mean it's a bad idea. It just means that maybe they don't see the potential in it the way that you do, or it means that maybe you've got to change the way you explain it. Maybe you're not being clear enough, or you need to develop a model or go into more detail to sort of allow them to understand it. So I think that's something that we've sort of bonded over when we go into these, especially in the early days. We went into these meetings and came out of them, and one of us was kind of feeling that, oh, is this the end of the road with this idea? Like, is it gonna? And then the other one would sort of pick the other up, and there was a few occasions where it was me, and a few occasions where it was Nikhil. But I think that was one of these like kind of team building kind of scenarios that's happened quite a few times to us, and we've definitely benefited from sort of blocking out the haters, I guess you would say.
Yeah.
It's the easiest way to put it, isn't it?
It is, and so going back to like the bubble timeline. So you say like April it started up. When did I forget now? When did Starter Boost start? Was that?
That was like October, wasn't it?
October.
It was actually the very end of September because I was in Crete at the time. So, because I remember I didn't realize Crete was an hour ahead. So of Europe, so it's 2 hours ahead of the UK. So I'd already booked my holiday and everything. I was there, and I was thinking, oh no, I'm gonna have to be awake till 11. So I got the flight at 6 in the morning. So yeah, that's my memory of Startup Boost. Startup Boost was great. Really loved it. I think both was like, I think Startup Boost for us came at just the right time. Because as I said, it was around that time where we were getting shot down by people, or we were getting people that were just telling us what we wanted to hear. And then with Startup Boost, we were actually introduced, I mean, not just to like mentors like yourself, but we were introduced to people like Mark Gardner, who's sort of been there and done it and seen other people do it. And they kind of know the red flag, what to look for, and they're really genuine people as well. They're not going to just tell you what you want to hear, and at the same time, they're not going to tear you to shreds. They're going to work with you and build you up. And again, I think that October, November time that we did that was the perfect time for us. It was a good platform for us to really understand what we wanted out of the business, and be able to understand not just our business, but how we work as a team more, and begin to really think a big picture rather than just what we're going to do next week.
I think that there's an important intermediate step between the first ad exchange idea and what we got into Startup Boost with, because we eventually ditched the ad exchange idea way before we thought of applying Startup Boost. The thing we did after that was we were like, okay, so we want to help businesses. We want to be in the business to business market. How do we get businesses as contacts that we can speak to? So our intermediate stage was to build a community. So we built a community online. The plan was to have it milestones based, kind of like the website Indie Hackers, but for businesses. And I think that's what we got into Startup Boost with. But I don't think it was necessarily the idea that we got in with. I think it was Mark just saw almost the resourcefulness and the potential that we had as a pair. Because obviously there's plenty of communities online, there's Facebook groups and whatever. We didn't have anything novel. It was more, I think he could see that we were a good team. We were basically able to survive. We'd survived a fair few ideas. Survived, I don't know if that's the right word. But I think it's that willingness to do unscalable things and things that are outside of the box that Mark really liked about us. And then the Startup Boost, first weeks of Startup Boost for us was almost like further ideation and iteration. And that's where we actually came up with our idea that we finished Startup Boost with. So I think that was quite an important middle step, because it was it was at the stage that we learned, okay, let's not try and fix a problem that doesn't exist. Let's not try and fix a problem we think exists. Let's instead find any way we can to talk to as many people as possible about their lives, basically. So
do you feel like the whole Startup Boost experience, you got a lot out of that, would you say?
Yeah, definitely. I think for both of us, it was a big turning point in where we were and where we thought what we thought of ourselves, our business. The mentorship was just amazing, really.
You can speak honestly, you know. You don't have to.
I'm speaking from the heart. Speaking from the heart here.
I heard you had that call with Justin for 1 week. I heard they were terrible.
But what I liked about the mentorship, just to go into that a bit, was the range of people. So there were people from all different backgrounds, and it was kind of done on like a rotational basis. So I know we got you a few times, but there were other people we spoke to that that was the first and last time we've spoken to them, really. But some of the insights they gave into certain sides of running a business and what we need to maybe think about in the future and stuff really, really helped us out. And the other big thing that we gained a lot from was presentation skills.
Yeah, massively. And just to add on that as well, it wasn't just the mentorship that was so helpful. It was actually the other members of the cohort. I remember one of the cohort members who was pretty experienced in the startup game. He gave a little speech in the first meeting of Startup Boost, and he said, talk to the people on your cohort because they're your biggest resource and your greatest resource, and sort of always there if you need to ask like peer review questions and that kind of thing. So yeah, I was sort of amazed just by at first how everyone seemed to be at different stages. So I was thinking of us so far behind everyone else when we first got there. But then there was others that actually had established businesses with cash flow and that had maybe been going for a year or two by that point. They were just trying to get to the next step and find some investment. And then there was us just soaking all the information up like sponges and just looking in every sort of nook and cranny, trying to find out more about ourselves and more about our idea, and just get that feedback from the mentors mainly. But what I realized as we went through the process of I think it was 7 or 8 weeks in total it ran for, was that we weren't actually that far off of that level. And mainly what gets you to that level is just believing that you can be at that level. And I think what we both realized after about week 2 or 3 that something that was holding us back was that sort of perceived lack of confidence. Like that small-minded kind of, we are not quite at that level yet. When in reality, I think we needed to be a little bit more fake it till you make it. That kind of vibe. But yeah, I think definitely our cohort was massive in helping us get to the sort of next level of mindset, if anything.
Yeah, I think I give a lot of the businesses a bit of a reality check of where they actually were. Like the mix of them. I mean, there's early stage and then there's the startups that were a bit more established. I think that together you all bounced the ideas off each other and got some really good feedback. The mentors as well. I think that, like Nikhil said, there was a good mix there. There was a few that were harsh, but not harsh enough to like critical feedback. But no, I think it was very good, and I shouldn't say this, but you two were one of the like standouts really, because it's like going back to what Nikhil said about Mark. I think Mark saw beyond the idea and just saw you two as willingness to actually put into this accelerator program, because that's all it is, isn't it? Is you only get out what you get put in.
Yeah, definitely.
But coming out with Startup Boost, and obviously you went into Startup Boost's bubble and you come out, and then a few months later you were Nodemap, and I just want to understand the months in between that, the sort of pivot that you guys had.
Yeah, so in the first instances we were all about data. So our idea that we came up with during Startup Boost was almost like a metric tracker, let's put it that way. But it was one that would integrate into all a variety of different tools. and we'd automatically grab that data for you. So we abstracted it basically. So you set a goal on a platform, super abstracted, like really simple UI. You just put like a target value in, what you want to track on what platform, and then forever it just tracks it for you. So you can go there once and see all your data. I don't know if it was necessarily a pivot. It for us it almost was a natural step into saying, okay, so you have all this stuff, but what is the problem? The problem is that you don't know what to do next. It's, you can set yourself a goal and you might not know how to get there. And I say might, it's probably 90% of the time you're thinking, oh, well, how do I actually get to where I want to be? Because we've experienced this so much. So then we were like, okay, so we like the visual element of the platform we already have. It was really visual, like, as I said before, like highly simple. We basically use like progress bars for everything. So it's really simple. We were like, okay, we get that. But then how do we make it more planning focused? So then we started thinking about, actually we were thinking about video games. So what Nodemap is now is basically like a video game achievement chart, but for businesses to plan their tasks, goals, objectives on, but in a visual style. So we've been using tools like Notion, Trello, all these text-based tools our whole journey. And what we find is, one, it's boring. It's very time-consuming to have to write it all, read it all. Find stuff is a big one. So we thought, okay, let's combine these two ideas. We'll create achievement charts like in video games, but of business tasks. Super visual, super easy to use. And by the end of it, you'll have a chart of where you've been, where you want to go. And you can also have like tasks in parallel with each other or in series. You can branch off and do another task. Maybe you've got marketing, whatever. And then we got thinking as a final point. Then we got thinking about, okay, but how do you know what to do? And that's where what we consider our best, idea, the backbone of this new project, is that because you're not using text-based things, and because you've almost got like achievement charts of step-by-step plans and guides and stuff, it opens it up so that these can be shared, dragged and dropped. You can import people who've made their own plan and it's succeeded for them, or they're highly knowledgeable in their field. You can simply just drag and drop that into your own plan amongst all of your other, all of the other charts and stuff that you've got. So that's where it really resonated for us. It really was to say, we would use this, we need this, and this can also help a lot of people.
Good stuff. And Euan, your take on sort of transition into Nodemap?
I get it. Yeah, I just don't want to echo too much of what Nikhil said, because it's actually, I guess that was sort of Christmas time, January time when we made the change. I think one of the big reasons for me, it wasn't so much the product. First, the project we're working on with Bubble and the goal tracking tool. I think it was mainly the name, because although we both kind of came up with the name Bubble together originally, but Bubble's already been taken really in the tech startup space. Not that would have made such a big difference, but I think just for obviously like social media handles and things, and actual having a brand identity, that was something that was big for me. That it just didn't really seem possible, because I'd had a few messages on Twitter, because my old username was Euan_Bubble, I think it was. I got a couple of people messaging me, asking me if I was working on this Bubble project, bubble.io, whatever it is. So yeah, so that was a big one, just about the brand. So we were already thinking about changing the brand, and I think when we were thinking about changing the brand, that was when Nikhil was putting sort of 2 and 2 together with the information we found out, and he was thinking creatively and kind of came up with what would become Nodemap. And then we were thinking, well, what is it? It's a roadmap to business success, but it's made up of different nodes. So that's how we get the name Nodemap. And I think in some ways it's the branding and the name. Obviously, it's not as important as the product, but without it, your product just doesn't seem to get the attention. I think one thing I've noticed just about changing the name and the whole feel of our social media presence and everything is that we are getting a lot more engagement, and people seem much more willing to click on us and see what it's all about. But as I said, the actual transition into Nodemap was a bit of a whirlwind. It wasn't just like the transition between the original idea and what became Bubble. It wasn't so much of a conscious decision. It was just we realised that actually this isn't really working that well. What do people need? What's the feedback we're getting? And then again, Nikhil sort of pulled Nodemap and pulled the idea out of some dark corner of his brain, and then that was what ended up being called Nodemap. But I guess that was my take on the journey. It was just, it all happened so quick.
Yeah, I think so. My background in education is games design and games development, and we use the Unreal Engine, and they use a thing called blueprints, which is basically just nodes, loads of different nodes. And there's
shaders and stuff, right?
Yeah, shaders are just game mechanics, loads of stuff. But there's a thing, I don't know what you say, there's like a trend that they do like artwork with their code and stuff. All these different nodes that make things. So I expect some Nodemap art in the near future.
Sell it as an NFT.
There you go. Nodemap art. I saw, obviously, you both know I'm a big fan of you guys and Nodemap and stuff. And I've been seeing that you're doing a lot of the building public stuff that's been sort of trending at the moment. I just want to get your views on that, really. How has it, do you think it's benefited Nodemap, or has it been a bit daunting, like putting your baby out there, so to speak?
Yeah, I mean, this will resonate with loads of people, but the biggest thing for a software developer is the imposter syndrome. So the biggest thing for building public for me was, okay, you can find a community of people that are similar to you, have similar interests, are in your field, and can help you as well. And it also because one of the biggest parts of the building public thing is to showing your failures as well as successes. So it just feels a lot more inclusive. So yeah, there's that's the first side to it, is the community aspect. The second bit is actually the marketing. So the amount of impressions that I get on my building public posts is incredible, really. You and the amount of click-throughs that converts to as well, whether it be people that are just curious or because these are the people that our product's ultimately aimed for.
Yeah,
it's them clicking through as well. So it's a really good way of us narrowing down our niche, finding people in that community and getting things out there. That's what we have. We have obviously this whole startup ecosystem has really good sense of community anyway. You can go on most platforms and find a community that revolves around the niche that you're working in, which offers a really good way of getting your name out there. But yeah, that's just basically what the motivation behind doing that was. I guess also the other thing would be the accountability side. Now, I guess it's not as prominent now because we've not launched anything yet, but post-launch we plan to be iterating, releasing something new every week, constantly releasing new stuff, launching new stuff. I think that's where it'll really come into its own.
Yeah, and I think something we've talked about a lot is we're kind of solving our own problem, as we've said a few times. And Nodemap is something that we're building also for ourselves as a team to use, which we plan to make public. Not just because it's a good demo for the platform, but we think it could be really helpful for other people. Again, even just the people that already follow us on Twitter or whatever, because we seem to have such a big following from that sort of indie hacker community, the building public community, and a lot of like really young people as well, like teenagers that are maybe even still in school that are following us and liking our posts and sharing stuff, which is really interesting to see, because there is obviously a need for, well, as Nikhil said, greater sort of accountability in their own journey, which is, I guess, what they use Twitter for. But also for us as well, I think sharing our own roadmaps, which is something we plan to do soon once we've got a proper working MVP and everything, then I think that's going to help keep us accountable and sort of lead by example in a way. Not that it should be a chore doing this kind of thing, because it's actually really fun, like just from playing around with it so far. It's much better than using something like Trello, for example, which is just like post-it notes, sticky notes. But yeah, it's definitely something that we're looking forward to taking the lead on, I suppose.
Yeah, good stuff. I've been seeing a lot of the building public stuff, and there's I wish I knew his Twitter handle, but I think he's only like 14 or something. And he posts like every week. He's like, "Oh, tell me what you're working on, and I'll give you some feedback." And so the most brutally honest feedback I've ever seen. It's amazing.
That's what you need, though, isn't it? Like that's something that we got a lot of at the start, and that really resonated with how we operate, because we're like straight down the line people. If someone gives us wishy-washy feedback, we obviously we dislike that a lot more than if people give us really negative feedback. That's just how we are, and you're the same, Carl. I know that there's no point in like skirting around things. Just say it how it is in 5 minutes, and then the real conversation can start, sort of thing. So that's another big thing that's helped us in our journey, is people just being honest, brutally honest.
Yeah. And just to go back to like thinking about the transition between ideas and everything, when we have been transitioning between these ideas, we've never argued with each other, but we've always passionately defended what we see as the direction forward. And I'm so happy that I have in Nikhil, I have a partner that I can do that with, because sort of in all walks of life, like whether it's sport or whatever, like I always get quite passionate about my point of view or whatever. I think Nikhil's the same as well, but we both know that we can say anything to each other as long as it's honest, and it's always constructive. It's never like we would never mean it in the wrong way. I think that's so important in our team as well, and maybe that's also something that, again, go back to the start of this, maybe that was what Mark kind of saw and what he was looking for in teams, even though we hadn't really done anything at that point. But yeah, I think that's one of our key assets, I would say.
Yeah, Mark's good like that. Well, yeah, Mark's a sort of, it's I'll tell you shit, but I'll tell you why shit. That's the sort of the mentality there. It's great. So where do you guys see? Oh, sorry, you.
I didn't know we could swear. I was would have dropped a few F-bombs by now.
You can swear. It's we ticket that it's not for kids on YouTube, so we're fine.
Brilliant.
So more, let's go in the clouds a bit here. Where do you think Nodemap, or where do you want Nodemap to go? Let's say in 5 years' time.
I mean, it's ambitious, but we see it being one of those big names, the Notions, the Trellos. And one of the ones that's really inspired us recently is Gumroad. I mean, there's been a lot of stuff about it. The whole creator economy thing, passive income is becoming a massive thing throughout COVID, and it's here to stay. There's no denying it. And that's what our platform offers. It offers a way for people that have been there, done that, spent blood, sweat and tears, getting all their experience, building their own business, whatever. Gives them a way to monetize their experience and distribute it to their audience really quickly, really easily, alongside maybe a course or whatever. But they don't even have to do it for money. You can just do it for free, just to be helpful. I mean, there's plenty of people like that who've done that for us. Just give them free advice. 5 steps to growing your Twitter audience, for example. Just follow them. In a week, you see your results. In a month, you see even more results. So I really think we can get there. Obviously, it's quite ambitious, but I don't see why we can't get there. With the feedback we've been getting, with the amount people have been telling us they love the idea, and not obviously you can tell it's when it's superficial. We've had plenty of superficial feedback in the past, but you can tell when it's proper.
Yeah, I agree. And just on sort of the other side of that, I see it as being a go-to tool for, again, the 15, 16-year-old, whatever, who's thinking of starting a YouTube channel or a Twitter page, or has an idea and doesn't really know where to go. But I guess the beauty of what we're trying to do is literally the beauty of it, the visual aspect, aiming to put all this information in basically the size of one screen, so that you don't have to scroll or anything, and you can kind of move it around and customize it so it kind of suits your own workflow, and you're able to see, okay, I need to do this, I need to do this, and this, and then hopefully they'll start getting results. But on the passive income thing as well, I think everyone's seen that since COVID, not just people with their own businesses, but maybe people that worked in like marketing, or for example, that might have get made redundant or furloughed or whatever. They've had to try and find new ways of monetizing their skills and experience. And if you can do that at a competitive rate, and something that an 18-year-old can afford, and that will bring them forward, then I don't see why that isn't a good thing. And I don't like to put figures on it, because, as I said, I think both of us naturally think in terms of money or whatever. But for us, it's just important, first of all, to have a working product, and then it's important to build on that product every week, every month, so that it's the best that it can be and people get the most value out of it. We want to provide that value to the young creators, or to the experienced creators that that want to earn passive income. I think the best way we can do that is to just do the best job possible. It's definitely a possibility. Like Nikhil says, I can also see it being as like one of these go-to tools, the Trellos, the Notions, and hopefully it can have that kind of impact, because I know we're biased because we're building it, but we both really like it, and we're really honest with each other, and I don't think we've ever had one conversation where we've gone, well, this is a bit shit, isn't it? Whereas the ideas we've had before, we've had a few of those conversations. So we're very hopeful that this can, first of all, help people, and then if we can turn it into a business that turns a profit and we can work on full time, then fantastic.
Brilliant stuff. And more on a personal level, what are your sort of personal goals?
Mine is to sound so cheesy, to have something to be really proud of. I've built this thing from the ground. It's mine. I've worked on it since I was left uni, and now it's my job. That's what it is for me. That's the ultimate goal. I don't know what it is for you, Euan.
I think something similar. Again, to build something that I'm proud of, and to work on it every day, and to Yeah, I'm one of these sort of, I suppose, like when these workaholics at heart. Like I get a real kick, but it has to be the right project. Well, that's the thing, and I think this is for me and the team and everything. It's the right project. I enjoy it, and to be able to work on it full time. And I think that, I mean, although it is a very career-based goal, I suppose, or business-based goal, that is in general life. I think that's the thing that I'm looking for that will drive life forward for me, get to that next level. And again, when we started talking back in April last year, we both realised that we're not people that generally enjoy being employees. I don't mean that in a condescending way or whatever, because I'm an employee right now and I have no problems with it. But given the option and given the tools and the possibilities, I'd much rather be able to work for myself and work more. But exactly as you said, the effort earlier, I mean, what you put in is what you get out. And that's something that really appeals to me. So is to be able to be honest with myself, and in 5 years, 10 years time, or even 20 years time, to look back and to think that, okay, I can honestly say I got out of that what I put in, built it from the ground up, and it became a $1 billion company, or built it from the ground up and it fell flat in its face. It's all the same. You get out what you put in.
I think just to add on to that as well, something that me and Euan both have as personality traits is...
Careful what you say.
we're almost... I don't know how to say it, but except lazy. And I'm going to say that lightly because I mean lazy in the sense that if we aren't committed to something, it's hard for us to do. But if we are committed to something, we'll enjoy doing the hardest stuff. The hardest stuff that people would normally be like, oh, this is too much, I can't do this anymore. As long as we're committed to it, that's fine. But for me, Neil, things that we don't consider, we're not entirely passionate about, is difficult. And that's probably hindered us in the rest of our lives in terms of university. Not to say that neither of us enjoyed our course, but there are always parts of it that you're not committed to. You just don't. And we probably both suffered a little bit from that. But because we're so committed to this, we can really see that side of our personality coming out and giving it everything. So yeah, that's been really good to just sort of like unravel that part of us as well.
Yeah, sort of a motivation thing, isn't it? Because I've always said, it goes back to what Euan said about being an employee. It's like, I don't think I could have done subordinate junior role for like 3 years or something. I'd much rather, eat instant noodles and live off very little money doing something I love than doing that and having a secure job and all that.
Well, that's the thing, like what we're saying about passive income, with so many sources of passive income and so many opportunities now, with Nodemap hopefully being another one. For a lot of people, their day job isn't really of that much importance anymore, because they know that they can go and do their own thing full time, or they can open up these channels. Like we've got entrepreneur friends that have now got their own Udemy courses. So they're selling their skills passively, and maybe one day they get 10 sales and then they don't get another sale for a month and they get 100 sales. That's the kind of thing. There's so many channels and so many opportunities now. I just think for people like the three of us, we'd rather live on the instant noodles for a year or two if it meant in the future that we can be sort of more independent and financially independent, not having to rely on having a job, which I think is what the COVID crisis has shown. As sad as it is to say, for a lot of people, you just can't rely, unless you're a key worker, you really cannot rely on your company surviving the next crash. As sad as that is.
Sad as it is, but it's very true. I'm running out of questions here, guys. You've provided some really great answers to the questions I had. So we're getting near the end of this, and I asked this last week to Justin and Mark, but what advice would you give people thinking of starting a startup or their own small business or doing a Udemy course to put on Nodemap or something like that? What advice would you give them just to get them through?
Have a good team, whether that's another person, like we're a two-man team. So whether you have 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 people in your team, make sure that you trust the people you're in a team with, and again, be in a team with people that you think are smarter than you, because that's not the case. If there's not one area that you can point to and think that person really knows something there, or they're better than me in this and this and this, then game's a bogey. That's it. You really need, again, and you need to be prepared to fail as well. But you need to be able, it's not just being prepared to fail, it's being able to just get up and just like it didn't really matter, because that's the only way you find out if something works or not. I guess that's also what we'll find out when we properly launch Nodemap, although we've had a lot of testing and stuff. When we do launch it, we'll see what people like and what we need to change about it. And yeah, that's the advice I would give. It's all about your team and your mindset. That's it.
Yeah, I'd agree with you. And to be honest, the only other thing I'd say is just try to be constantly learning. I mean, if you think about what we've done, at the start we knew absolutely nothing. We had a few basic skills and some relevant things. Like obviously I knew how to code a little bit. Obviously you had experience in marketing and customer service and stuff, but nothing prepares you until you're actually just prepared to learn and just go and try something, and again be prepared to fail, because you've just got to have that mindset of being open to learn. And then once you have learned those things, then you never have to learn them again, and you can just look for the next thing to learn. But as long as you don't stop looking for things to learn, then that'll just carry you through the whole process. And then the other thing as well is just don't be afraid to start. Just bite the bullet. Even if it's an hour a week to start off with, just do it.
And just be committed as well. I mean, like we've done this entirely remotely. Like we've not even met in person for 2 years or something like that. More than 2 years.
I think it's 3 years now. We've not seen each other's face in 3 years.
About 3 years since we actually last saw each other face to face. We've been working on this for about a year, so it's all been through Zoom calls. Facebook chatting to each other and emails and everything. So just if that is the way that you are starting your business and it's going to be remote, then make sure you've got the Notion or hopefully the Nodemap, and make sure you're on the same page. Make sure that you're using these tools, and just little things like just everyone on the team has access to see it, and everyone's on the same wavelength. That's so important. Not that we've had any problems with that, but it's just not. Well, fortunately, we're both pretty good. Well, Nikhil's better than me, but we're both pretty good with, tech and using computers and everything. But a lot of people aren't. But they might be the people on your team that are going to give you the most value in a certain situation. So, yeah, if you're doing it remotely, then maybe just be a bit more aware that there's some more hurdles you might have to crawl over.
No, some really good advice there. And I like the thing Euan said about surround yourself with people smarter than you.
Mm-hmm.
There's a saying about if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room.
Yeah.
I like that quote. Again, I don't know who said it. I'm terrible with names. But now, I think we're getting near the end of this. I just want to give you guys a chance to tell people where you are online. Where can they find you? Yeah.
Nikhil, do you want to go first?
I'll go first.
You've got a better Twitter username than me, so.
Yeah, yours is better. So on Twitter, my handle is Nodemap_Nikhil. Hang around on LinkedIn as well. Obviously, my name is Nikhil Patel. Indie Hackers as well. That is at nm_Nikhil. And our website as well. Nodemap.io.
Yeah, again, for me, Nodemap.io. That's the best place to get us, I suppose. Sign up there and you'll be the first to know when we launch. And on Twitter, I am at RichDadPoorGrad. Sorry, it's tragic, but I think it's funny.
It's hilarious.
And you can also get me on LinkedIn. Euan Harkness. There aren't that many Euan Harknesses kicking around, so I don't know what my actual LinkedIn URL link is, but
it's just /Euan Harkness. No spaces, no capitals, no numbers, nothing.
Yeah, so that's where you can get us.
Good stuff. Well, I've thoroughly enjoyed the hour that we've spent talking on the podcast. Thank you for being on it again. This will be on the Purch It YouTube channel. And from me, Nikhil and Euan, that has been the podcast. So thank you very much, guys.
Cheers, Carl.
Anytime, thank you.